no idea what a startup was. They're like, the startup thing is people who pay a premium for our products. But the reality was they wanted to be a startup themselves, because every company wants. They want innovation. They want to be big. But they don't know how to do things like a startup. And so they said, we need to bring startup people in. So the strategy was bring startup people in, bring them into IBM, empower them, and see what they build. We ended up building this business that today is called Watson. Who knew? But I'm sitting here thinking, I'm inside of IBM, okay, this doesn't really feel right. It doesn't feel like it's really what I would love to do. I want to build products that people touch every day, not products that people will never see, just runs everything in the background. And so went from there to Nokia. From Nokia then left to go start another company called PhotoBucket. Anybody here still heard of PhotoBucket? One person. Anybody know who bought PhotoBucket? We were acquired by MySpace. It was a crazy deal. We were acquired by MySpace and said, okay, great. We were acquired, we got lucky. I became the head of MySpace here in San Francisco, did a bunch of things, launching our platform, rolling out things, doing the normal things that you do for your burnout. I'll explain it out later for those who want to know. It's part of your entrepreneurial journey. But after that, then started angel investing, started working with other entrepreneurs, started listening to their ideas and trying to figure out, like, okay, at the core, what is the essence of your idea and why? What are you building and why are you the one to lead this effort? And I realized that at that point, I realized that the meaning came from giving back, continuing to give to others, continuing to lead others, continuing to have confidence in my abilities, but ultimately, I was willing to give more of my time to other entrepreneurs to say, okay, how can I help you? Because that was what I felt so fortunate to go through these crazy ups and downs of startup life, and when you finally get to that point, you say, okay, great, we have this opportunity to help. And so you become this selfless leader, and you start to help with a little bit of time, or sometimes a lot of time, and a little bit of money. But the perspective that you offer is really that counsel that everybody needs to become great entrepreneurs. Because to become great entrepreneurs means you're listening to people all the time. You're listening to your advisors, you're listening to your peers, you're listening to your team, you're listening to your customers, you're listening to your investors. You're always listening. Great entrepreneurs don't spend their time talking about their accomplishments. They spend their time working towards their accomplishments, working towards your goals. So what are you going to do? And all of that requires a lot of time, patience, and so we're going to go through all of that and talk about specifically those hardships. Before I start, why don't we say a quick prayer. Heavenly Father, we give thanks, Lord, that we can be here today in this room in fellowship to continue to listen and share stories of entrepreneurship and what it means to build a path that we know, Lord, you have in your mind for us. In our daily lives, oftentimes we don't spend enough time listening to you, Lord. And we really, truly hope that in this time together that we'll understand better how to listen so we can do, Lord, things in your will. Because we know the plan is there for us, and that you've laid out so many paths and opportunities for us. But we hope, Lord, that you continue to show us the way, that you continue to help us continue to grow as individuals and as leaders. And that we come together, Lord, as friends and peers, to rely on one another for the strength to go on and build the great businesses, Lord, or the technologies that we know you have in store for us. We ask that you bless this time, we ask that you bless this message, and we ask that you bless our relationships as we go forward to do your will. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. So, everybody knows lots and lots of hardships in entrepreneurship. It's pretty tough sometimes. just to get started, just to figure out, is this idea big enough? You really have to spend a lot of time to think about what your goals are. Everybody wants to do this to make money, but if you make money your primary goal, it doesn't work. Your mission has to be to solve the problem. That's your purpose. Solve problems people have. And the first time I was an entrepreneur, I didn't think about it like that. I didn't think about, like, what is that picture, what is that image of that problem I'm trying to solve? And also, by the way, the first time when I was an entrepreneur, there was no Forbes 30 under 30 or 20 under 20 or eventually 10 under 10. Hopefully my 10-year-old, he's writing a PhD right now, and so hopefully he'll launch sometime next year. It's turning into PowerPoint and PRDs are a required skill to graduate from second grade. But what I hope we can talk about is we can talk specifically about what it means to face those challenges, what faith means during that journey, and what ultimately requires us to have a certain mindset to be self-disciplined. And that's what faith-based leadership is about. So, vision, courage, acceptance, these are all parts of the path, the journey that we walk on. This is a picture of a road in Spain. Does anybody know what road this is? This is Camino de Santiago.
I heard about this.
You ever heard about this?
Yeah, the legend said that Jesus once walked through this path.
And at the end of this path lies the tomb of James, older brother of John. It's said that Jesus walked this path alone, not with a group of people, not on a bus, not with palm leaves on his feet, alone. He had to think. He was trying to understand. He had to listen. You need that empty time to think and listen, to get perspective. Once you have that time, you have to take this time in this meditation. You have to take this time to reflect. What is my mission? What is my purpose? What are my goals? And why should other people walk this path with me? But you can't always walk that path in a room. When you're in a room like this, you can't think. You're here listening. You're not here to think about your problems right now. You're here to think about the here and now, be present. But when you walk out of this room, you have to find those moments to think and meditate to get that perspective. Because that's how you persevere. Like every single day, you kind of go home at the end of the day, you say, okay, so it can be lonely. Sometimes you can't talk about what's going on. Legally, you can't talk about what's going on as an entrepreneur sometimes. I could not talk to my wife about the transaction we were being acquired. Funny story, I couldn't even talk to my wife about one of our investments that was being acquired by her company. It was literally one of those days. There are some things you want to share, you have to share. Sometimes you can't. And in entrepreneurship, that is oftentimes the biggest challenge. You want to share, you want to show with your team that you're thinking, that you're right now asking for help, but you want to be the strong, fearless leader. John 10:27 says, "My sheep hear my voice, and they know them, and they follow me." The voice, how you communicate. These are all things that matter. Because at the end of the day, you're continuing to gather your flock. You're keeping them together. And as you do that, you have to tend to their needs. We talk a lot, initially, building companies in Silicon Valley, you didn't face the massive churn you had. All these startup jobs, you talk about every single entrepreneur I talk to, how hard it is to recruit. Well, how clear is your mission? How clear is your purpose? Did you listen Did you hear what those people said to you? You interviewed them, and you wanted them to come on, and they said no. Did you listen? Did you ask for feedback and say, why didn't you join? What is it about our mission that doesn't resonate or reflect your goals? What did I not hear from you? And at the same time, when you spend all of this time to get them in, you still have to spend your time making sure they're present, they're engaged, they're active. And then they leave. And then you say, why did they leave? Did I listen? Was I there for them? Were there others there for them? It happens every day. I'm sure every day you go in. Days, sometimes it's a decision that you have to make. You just have to say, it doesn't feel right. What doesn't feel right? I don't know what to do. But sometimes, other people on your team are having the same thought. It doesn't feel right. And so, every day continues to be this back and forth of figuring out, do I stay or do I go? Do I stay or do I go? It takes up a lot of time and a lot of energy. And it sometimes feels like a setback. But when you step back, it's not. Look, I've been a founder and I've been fired. So it happens. What happened? I didn't keep sight of my goals, and keep those in line with our company's mission and our company's goals, my partner team mission, our partners' goals, and our investors' mission and their goals. Ultimately, who knew it's now a $500 million company and still like a and a semicolon? Who knew? But it's there. When you look inside, you leave with what's inside. In here. In your heart, what you believe is what matters. People aren't looking for superhero. They're not looking for that person who, when you look at it, you're like, wow, they do everything. They can save everything. That's not the true image of the Savior. Which Savior do you want? Which one do you want? Because at the end of the day, people see things, but they feel things. And as they get to know you, and as they get to understand you, they get to know what drives you. And as more and more people, as you have your team understanding what drives you towards building the product you're building, as you have investors understanding the product you're building, your customers start to understand the product you're building, and then it becomes more customers, and more investors, and more team. And it feels like it's never ending. I hope everybody gets that opportunity to get there, and I know you will. But again, it all starts with that path. What path do you want? Cher is a great friend. Cher has continued to be a joy and inspiration to be around. It really, I know how much it pains her to lose 1,500 employees. At the end of the day, though, she knows that's what's best. For HTC, for its brand, all of this, she's doing this. Lots of speculation, but let's just listen to specifically what she said. A good leader should have a starting spot. Forget about all the noise you hear. What's driving Cher is internally. It's a vision she has that she thinks is best for that company. Forget about all the rest of the speculation. Everybody has a million things to say about HTC. At the end of the day, Cher stands there thinking and praying every day to figure that out. So as you're building these businesses, who are you serving? What are you serving? When Jesus showed up at the Sea of Galilee. He showed up, met Zebedee, and then you saw James, the older brother, and John. And this is what he said. Come after me, and I will make you fishers of men. Follow me. Go this way. You will not fish for fish. Be fishers of men. What does that mean? What was going through his mind when he was thinking about this? Does anybody have, I don't want this to be like total stuff, so does anybody have like any thoughts? Like, anybody familiar with the verse? The story? What do you think? What's going through Jesus? What is Jesus doing as he's like there saying this to John and James?
He wants his disciple to know about the kingdom of heaven and the Father of Jesus Christ. And then you got and overall, there's a whole bunch of it, and you have to be a servant, and be as you say. And then just a moment ago, just when I said it, I just thought, fishing, how do you fish? You fish, you need bait. Bait, what kind of bait do you get people need? Okay, really, good for the people, good for the person you're talking to. A bait is something that's healthy for them. It's help for the fish. Okay, so I guess that's the attitude of his teaching to his disciples.
When I think about that, I think about food. What nourishes us? What do we need? Okay? We need these basic things for survival. And sometimes we don't know where it's going to come from. As a company, as an entrepreneur, we don't know where our next dollars are coming from. Sometimes. Sometimes you walk in, sometimes the bank account's lower, sometimes it's higher. It's up and down. Sometimes you're about to make payroll, sometimes you're not. Sometimes you alone. It's easy when it's you alone, but it's when you and your family, and then you and others, then you think through, what does that mean? For me, that lesson was, so we're sitting here, we're a newly public company, we don't know what to do. And sitting there with the bankers trying to come up with a solution. We know the market's not working for us. We know that what we're doing isn't continuing to grow. And we know that we're facing a lot of things. So what do? We raised money. I raised that money for my employees, for my teams, for my friends, for their families. My family is fine. We're going to be fine. I raised that so they would have 4 years of cash to continue to go on that path. I don't need to guide this anymore. This is not something I created. This is something we created, and this is something you guys are inspired to continue to build. You guys have the resources. Go build. Go develop. Go feed. Go figure this. So, ultimately, it became about empowerment. Because once they learned and were able to eat this food, then they were able to go out and become disciples. They were able to go out and feed others with the message, with the understanding that people needed to go on to feed their spirits, their faith, and develop that. Every day is filled with challenges. You look up at a mountain, What I think about is God's creation. A mountain with no clear path of it. No man has made a path of this mountain. As an entrepreneur, as an investor and entrepreneur, what I'm looking for from the entrepreneur is that person who says, this is the mountain I'm going to go climb. there's no clear path here, but we will find a way. I'm not going to make a path. I'm not going to carve my face on the side of this path. I'm not going to carve. But I am going to recruit a team. I'm going to have them share in this idea and this vision to face this challenge and set this goal. We are going to climb to the top. We are going to scale this. And when there's no path in sight, sometimes you think, okay, what are we going to do? Well, okay, I'm not going to go up there and say, well, we're going to go this way, and we're going to come back around this way. That's not what we're going to do. We're going to say, because what happens if somebody in your team can't do that? You have to be confident of your team. Because the path you choose is reflective of the team you have. The team you have is a gift that you've been given. And oftentimes you have to think deeply about that. You have to think deeply about what your needs are. The entrepreneur's reality, I found myself doing this a lot sometimes. Just go out there, sit on a bench, just look out, reflect. Do I still have this conviction? Do I still believe? If I don't believe this, how are others going to believe this? Constantly filled with self-doubt. We have so many things being thrown at us saying, is this idea big enough? Is this the right idea? Am I on the right path? And all at the same time, you have to maintain some balance, some healthy balance, right? Everybody talks about work-life balance, but how do you have work-life balance in a startup? Sometimes you have to find that place where you're not always sitting on that bench. Sometimes you are. Sometimes you choose to sit on that bench. Sometimes you choose to find that quiet time to just be there. Close your eyes and pray. Meditate. Reflect. But sometimes you need somebody on that bench with you. We don't always pray alone. Sometimes we pray together. And so sometimes what you have to do is you have to find others who can sit there with you. Oftentimes we see this as the start of tale. I had a vision. I went to Berlin. If anybody's read the article inside, Vanity Fair has an article about the genesis of Google. And it's sort of a Q&A with some of the folks before, sort of what happened. What they call them the Google 100. It's the first 100 people at Google. What was it like? Everybody has all these stories. It's like literally, it's just a story. It's fascinating. But not one person, not one successful entrepreneur ever gets it. Being in the right place, the right time, having the right idea, the market conditions being right. What makes the market right? But at the same time, those great leaders say, we were lucky. They don't say, I was lucky. They don't say, I am lucky. They say, we were lucky. Sometimes they even say they were lucky. Because they don't include themselves in that idea of being humble, bowing down, letting others step forward. That's what leadership is. Leadership isn't about being the guy on stage launching the next great product. That is not it. Leadership is going up there and acknowledging and saying, thank you to everybody. We came up with this idea, and this was a great one. And here's what we've built. Now, sometimes you don't always hear, sometimes you don't always hear that, and sometimes the media doesn't always pick up on it, and they don't always share it. But again, the media should influence what you do as a leader. That picture, those images, that story they tell, this is the reality. Everybody who goes through, the journey of entrepreneurship, the full journey of entrepreneurship, the one everybody wants to be on. Highs and lows, and a lot more lows than there are highs. I launched the product. I got my first buyer. I got my first customer. It just gave me a check. I got my first investor. It just gave me a check. I got my 10,000th investor. It gave me a check. All of these things, there's a path, and so, right now the media story says this. There are now a growing number of startups that are now older than 10 years that are not yet public that have to figure out what to do with their options. We were trending towards, on average, startups were going public 8 years after being founded. Now we're beyond that. And now all these employees are saying, what do? I was supposed to be rich. My options were supposed to be worth something. And it's been way more than 4 years. I'm now on my second 4-year vesting schedule, or my third. And I still can't, that's, it's not the right time. When the time is right, you'll know. When you're ready, all of these things will become evident when the market's ready. Because that's what it means to be lucky. It means the market is ready. I love the fact that the Warriors are such a deep, deep team. There's literally 2 starting teams on this team right now. It could be half of the bench could probably go be starters anywhere else in the league, but they choose to stay. And yet, you have an all-star on there. He's not always going to take the last shot. There was a time in basketball when I was growing up where Michael Jordan always took the last shot. He never. I mean, sometimes he was like sheer will. It's almost like that image of LeBron James, in the last series that the Cavaliers won. LeBron won that game. Literally, single-handedly won Game 7. That's not what happened in the sweep with this. The Warriors won that game. People were hurt. Others came in. They had a deep bench. They don't talk about how great a coach Steve Kerr is. They don't talk about what a great ownership they have. They don't talk about what a great player or shooter Steph Curry is. They don't talk about it. They talk about what a great team the Warriors are. So, to do that, you have to practice certain things. One of those things you have to practice is daily meditation. I used to say these 3 things to myself every day because I wanted to be vulnerable. I wanted to listen. And I wanted others to help me. And so I practice this daily meditation. Oftentimes, when things are going crazy, I really spend this time to ask myself and reflect on these 3 points. Now, some practical tips. Communicating with a common language means common understanding. Your whole team needs a common language to share. You need to be consistent. You need to practice building an over and an under, and a vocabulary they understand that's familiar. You can't change things. Your team doesn't think inside your head. They listen to what you say. They watch your actions. All of these things are things you need to be aware of as a leader in order to truly be a servant leader, be their listener. Is you need to hear what they say and then develop a vernacular. That framework makes all the difference. What's at the other side of the tunnel? There's this blinding light there. What's there when I get through? Pray. Try to get clarity around that. And try to shape that picture and try to make sure that others see that picture. Whether you're doing this in your daily jobs or whether you're doing this as the visionary CEO, this is what it means. Draw that picture, stick to that picture, and stick to that picture. We're all super. Every single one. Doesn't matter how big or how small. Everybody's super. Every single person on your team has a superpower. You need to recognize that. You need to look at that. You need to delegate. You need to help them focus. The point as a leader is that whole point of focus. If everybody were leaders, everybody would know what to focus on, what matters at all times. What I found as a leader is I found that everybody doesn't always know what to do at all times. And so you have to help them focus and prioritize. As they start to learn, then they will start to be able to do this independently. But in the very beginning, oftentimes in startup land, we're all thinking everybody has to do all things at all times. No. If you want to build something that becomes iconic, if you want to build something that's long-standing and people will remember, something that touches thousands of people, millions of people, you have to remember it's a long-term goal, and you have to help people stay focused on the tasks that matter and work towards that. Help them understand the metrics that matter. What metrics do you own? What metrics do you support? What metrics do we care about? So, just the last point, 3 daily actions. So, one of my daily habits, is my wife hates this, is coffee. Every single morning, but I don't put my coffee into a machine. I grind my coffee, I weigh it. I weigh my coffee, I grind it, then I boil my water, wet my filter, pour in my grounds, and then spend 4 minutes making it. Sometimes not. Depends on what bean I'm using. These are little daily practices, little patterns of familiar practices that help you set your routine for the day. You'll often hear many leaders talk about, what do I do first thing in the morning? Some get on the machine and exercise. Some get coffee. Some people shave. Some people take a shower. Some people meditate. Some people do yoga. Start your day with a consistent daily practice and set specific points of that daily practice throughout the day. Because be selfless is to be okay. I didn't understand this until I was a parent. But as a parent, I want more for my son than I want for myself. I am willing to put his needs before mine. If I'm hungry, if I'm tired, if he's hungry and he's tired, I will feed him first. I will carry him first before I sit down, take a drink. Encourage others to take the lead. As a startup, if you have the ambitions to be in a startup, first off is what you'll notice is as you interview, if you go work at startups, you'll notice in the interview, they'll encourage you to take the leap. If you're comfortable in your job at Google and then you're about to leave to go to a startup, why would you leave Google and go to a startup? What is it that you're looking for? They often say when you meet that person, you'll know. You meet these entrepreneurs, they're very, very special people. You can either be that entrepreneur, but also look for those entrepreneurs. Because those leaders, they will make you courageous. They will encourage you to take that step. Walk out that door. And they will catch you if you fall. If you are falling, and things are spiraling out of control, they will not let you drop to the ground and break. They will break your fall. And so all of that, I hope you will continue to take this and continue to think about what that means. And how, whether or not you're building a team or building a company, how you'll lead with purpose. Thanks.
Okay, we will open for a few questions.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
You mentioned something like set up daily routines, so we can start a day consistent daily pattern. Can you address that point a little bit deeper? Why do you want to do that?
Part of it is human psychology. Like your brain actually is driven by routines. We have so many signals that are unexpected during the day. You need to have things that are predictable, patterns that you can expect to happen. Sometimes those patterns are as simple as I know Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I'm driving this to school. But you need those things to be able to set sort of those boundaries and not break that routine. Because as you're facing a constant barrage of these signals, what I found is like these daily routines help you diffuse some of those distractions. The email notifications, the urgent alerts, the social media notifications, the text buzzing. It starts to set you back so you don't feel compelled to respond. And so those daily actions give you some boundaries. Those are some grounding moments that I find continue to be helpful. Especially if you're an entrepreneur, like those types of routines, help you continue to be there. Because those types of things are things you need to set. Those are the times when you have that quiet time, that quiet moment, and that quiet action. When you want to go through, you don't want to have to think about how do I set this up. You don't want to have to actively think about what am I going to do. You just want to sort of get up and instinctively go do it. And so in order to do that, it becomes habitual. Once you get into that practice, no different than, reading, sometimes it's reading a passage in the Bible, but set up a time to read the passage. Make that intentional. And it's that ability to sort of set that intentional limit that really sort of helps.
Any other question?
Any comments? Yes.
I have a quick question. In your past experience, what is the most effective way to share and inspire somebody with your vision so that they come along?
I mean, at the end of the day, it's your business plan, right? It's that picture. I encourage every entrepreneur to draw that picture. What are we building? I imagine that the world today looks like this. The world tomorrow, if you succeed, looks like that. You want to build that? That's what people are attracted to. That's what more and more people are thinking. More and more, I can't tell you how many times they come across someone who's sitting inside of the pallet of I'm not inspired because I don't know how to build it. They're building such a tiny little piece of that. They don't understand the big picture of that. And so the one place where Google's falling apart right now is there's so many leaders inside of Google that have this picture. And it's very hard, it's becoming harder and harder. More and more of them leaving. But for you, like recruiting somebody, it's exactly the same type of mentality you have. That vision. Larry and Sergey were like two complementary people. I want to build the biggest data set from the world. I want to research the most interesting data set in the world. You have this live thing of the World Wide Web. It's continuing to build every day. And you have this rich data set. You have these two partners. One's basically continuing to build up this huge library of data. And the other one's continuing to say, all I want to do is keep looking through this data. And eventually they have like teams of people who are working. Eventually it becomes big enough business. When they don't know, they were still trying to figure out like, how people do business. You know, and again, you know, they recognized, they said, you know what, their business model wasn't clear. Other partners told them what their business model was.
So basically, you know, two main things. Number one, the end goal, the big picture that they can see and hopefully they relate to. If they don't, then it's probably not the person that you're looking for, right? And number two, where do they fit in that big picture so they can see a direct correlation contribution. Thank you.
You mentioned about playing the vision, and then you know, has it ever happened to you that you play for something and then you see a vision, like you think that it's from God, that this is the way to go, and then after a little while, when things going quite the way it is, then you just say, hey, what's going on, guys?
You know, there was a time, you know, one time, it's kind of like trying to figure it out. And I was like not quite sure. All I was looking for was where to start. And then over time, once I started doing that, things started. But initially, what wasn't so clear, it was kind of easy, the path. And it's kind of feels like you're like, okay, like at this intersection, it's like these easy paths in front of you. I'm not quite sure. It's like kind of foggy, not quite clear. You start walking, you start going. You know, those moments happen, but you have to pay attention. Once you start paying attention, you will start seeing these things. And you start realizing, like, then if you have faith, you'll believe, like, oh. If you don't have faith, like probably what I found, like with some friends who might not have, you know, that concept of faith in their mind, they'll say, oh, I cleared that. I made that. But sometimes it's just coincidence. You never know. That accidental reconnect with a person on the street is usually how it starts. And then it gradually becomes like short conversation to catch up. And so that's when those visions become a little bit clear. Yeah.
Okay, final two questions.
Invested in any blockchain-related project. You mentioned it took the startup company eight or more years to go public. What's your comment about ICO process? Are they going to interrupt the IPO eating their lunch? IPO food chain?
When I think about blockchain, I think about it in two distinct ways. One says, is this team on a mission? And then the second question I ask myself is, what mission is this team on? What purpose does this serve? A lot of these things don't become clear when you live in an established culture. You don't start to see why it's necessary. You leave and you start to understand. Then it becomes a question of, is this the right team? 95% of the team is doing these ICOs on the right team. They don't have background, they don't have experience. They're like impatient children who are like, I want to do that. You're like, why should I do that? You're like, You haven't even spent any time understanding the problem. When I ask you to understand this problem deeply, you don't understand this problem deeply. The problem with the blockchain and the ICO process is that you don't have that opportunity to ask that question, to go back and probe deeply and see how deep is this person's understanding of the nature of the problem they're trying to solve, and how broad is the reach of the problem they're trying to solve. What is the value of solving this problem? So a lot of the problem with the ICO process is, again, this idea of anonymity. Well, that completely defeats the purpose of what these visionary entrepreneurs have done. They're not anonymous. You see them all the time. I can't tell you how many times I've seen some of my friends in the media as they're visionary entrepreneurs. So, do I think it's going to disrupt the IPO process? It's not. It's maybe going to it's not going to disrupt it because they're solving different types of problems and they're different economic problems. But, in terms of blockchain, we look at it very carefully, simply because, we're trying to understand what is the intention of this deal. You can't get that. There's no way to keep them accountable for it. In fact, that's why 90%, of them are basically just rolling it away. It's like, hey, it's like you got to tell people, oh, hey, there's this company that's just gone public. You're going to buy these shares. Here's the number. Are you going to invest? They used to have those. That's what's going to, put a pause on it. So I don't think it's going to disrupt it in the long term because public market investors will always be there. ICO market investors is unclear.
Okay, final one.
Oh, yeah. Can you talk about companies that you invested in that you didn't think would be very successful, but became successful, and vice versa?
Yeah. I think there is this one. People press a button in the app and it harshes. And I was like, really? Alright, I believe you. Literally, it's like a problem most people wouldn't have. It's like, hey, I'm gonna go out to the club, I don't want to wait for a taxi, and I don't know where the driver's going to be. So, if I just open up this app and push a button and told the driver where I was, and then when the driver showed up, ping me again and tell me, hey, I'm here. And then it will take me home. It's like, no way. Who's going to use that? It's a good $25,000 to write. Because I wrote that. That was a seed check. Companies that didn't quite work out. I guess it all kind of depends on sort of when you invest in. I think it's I hope my friends will go but GoPro was one where I was sitting there saying, I do all this stuff just to take videos of themselves when they go to actions first. It wasn't clear, because there's so many actions first, the previous to were people gonna want that? What people wanted was a smaller camera. People don't want more affordable places. People don't necessarily want something to use when they go to actions first or in the pool. And so, I think, what is GoPro good? They lost that focus, and even in the very beginning, it was Nick spent 7 years working on GoPro before he finally got his first contract. 7 years. I met him in year 3. And I still think it's, I still think it's not going to work. I still think it's going to have a hard time being involved in standing iconic.
just because the space is so competitive, he's got competition from mobile phones, he's got competition from mobile phone companies that are basically breaking the phone and the camera apart. He's got competition from camera companies. And not everybody, what people want is to take pictures. They don't want to take pictures. They don't want to take pictures of them doing action sports. Everybody is an action sports cinematographer. Not everybody is doing something that's so interesting. You're going to tune in for hours and hours to watch it. So I think GoPro is good.
Okay, let's stop here. That Norman will stay here, for a few more minutes. Okay, let's give him another round of applause. And it's a token of appreciation. Norman is very busy. I approached him last year. And it takes quite some time to get him here. We really appreciate that he can come. Okay?